Just incredible!
Just incredible, man.
Just incredible. Run the thing, eh? Run it!
And welcome to Just Incredible's podcast, right here from beautiful Los Angeles, California. My guest today, Ted Dhanik, is here. Ted, it's great to have you on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
There's so much I want to get to. We were talking off the air. Give the people a little bit of background about yourself before we go there.
Yeah, man. So I was born in India.
Okay.
Let's go far back.
Okay.
The movie Slumdog Millionaire, that was me.
That's, damn,
I'm just kidding. It wasn't me. But it was kind of like that. No, I lived in India for like 28 days. So I just like claiming it because now we're trending.
That's right.
And finally, Indians are cool. You know?
That's
so I'm
right.
like, I got to claim it.
Live it up, baby.
So I was there for 28 days, and then I came and I grew up in Texas for the first 9 years. So I changed my name to Ted. My real name is Tej. I got a book dropping later this year. I go back to my real name soon, because there's a lot of like racism in Texas at the time. I was getting beat up every day. It was pretty crazy. Sure. So I changed my name myself. And then I ended up in California, spent most of my adolescent years in the Bay Area, in San Francisco. Was part of the .com boom, worked for a bunch of companies that did well. And then a startup brought me out to LA in the year 2000, a company called Lower My Bills. I was one of the early guys there. And then we ended up doing really well, sold the company to Experian. It was a great ride.
Wow.
And we were like Lending Tree at the time, like the largest lead for mortgages, largest lead shop, a tech company actually, in the country, and the biggest advertiser according to ComScore for 5 years. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. And my role there, I was head of business development. Okay. So my background is like sales, business development, and marketing. That's kind of what it is. Yes, and now it's corporate development from the stuff I've done after that. And then shortly after that, I became friends with Tom and at MySpace and the other guys. They had a company around that time that they also sold. Around the time, and it's funny because they had an office inside of our Lower My Bills office. It was funny that the previous company called ResponseSpace. It was kind of crazy. They were in the same place, but yeah. And then I met Tom later on, and then I didn't really want to do sales and marketing anymore. I'm sales and business development anymore. I felt like it sucked the soul out of me. And so after we sold the company, I was like, yo, Tom, let's jump on MySpace.
Crazy.
So I came on MySpace and I was the head of strategic marketing there, and it was a lot of fun. And I left from I was there for till basically what we called the end, which was 2008.
Right.
So all of us were. It just kept going after that. But then
the groundbreaking moments,
left,
man. This is groundbreaking
it was
moments.
Crazy. Tom, Chris, all of us, we all left in 08.
In 08, huh?
It was crazy. Rosalind stayed. She was the longest standing employee.
Long live Rosalind, a great personal friend of mine. And, it sounds like you worked with her day in and day out.
The most, actually, because of, the thing, we worked closely together at MySpace. And then I placed her in a startup after she left MySpace. And then I acquired that company after. And then it was part of my IPO. And then she worked for several years in that company. So I'd see her every day.
Crazy, man.
It was crazy.
We
and
miss
so
her.
When I heard this stuff, I was just, in shock. And just for everyone who's not familiar, Rosalind, she passed a couple years ago now, maybe a year and a half or two.
Yes.
And it was she was the longest standing employee at MySpace. She built MySpace Music, and I don't know anyone who was more connected than her.
She's the connector, man.
It was
literally
the craziest thing, and it was really sad to hear that.
Tragic.
But yeah, so I've worked very closely with Tom and Chris, and we did a lot of really interesting things. Launched the brand in its infancy, and really built out. First started off doing MySpace parties all over the world.
Yeah, man. Yeah, with some of my DJ homies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
All of the DJs like Vice and even AM and even Scribble.
Crazy.
And Apollo Confo. We did the first live broadcast in internet history.
Wow.
At Space Nightclub it was 24 hours. And
is this Miami or?
It was in Miami.
Crazy.
Yeah. And that's back in the days when Luis Puig owned Space, and we did it with Paul. Paul was broadcasting live, and we got up to 500,000 concurrent streams at the time.
But
at the time, it's internet never saw anything like that. That was 2005.
What was it
during the Winter Music Conference
about that moment that made you even say, "Hey, this would be dope to do"?
Because it's kind of at the time everyone was consuming content and video was starting to become big, and we stumbled on some technology to do some live broadcasts, and it was kind of yo, hey, what if we did a live DJ set, and it was really expensive for us, to do it because we had to pay for the bandwidth.
Yeah.
And but we wanted to prove something, and we did that. Like there's a lot of interest for this, but it was really early. It was like 10 years before its time. So
yeah. Now
crazy.
look, I mean, way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
You've mentioned the word startup a couple times, and being in LA, and everyone's got something going on. What is it about these companies that makes you take that risk? That says, "Oh, I'm down." Like, what do you hear? Or what in your heart or spirit tells you, hey, I'm willing to take this risk? Because I think a lot of us go, yeah, that'd be dope. Let me know about that.
Yeah, so for me, and I've always kind of looked at people, right? And just kind of like understand their background and experience and all this stuff. And hey, can this be a rocket ship, based on the people that are involved in it, and, what have they done before? Like, this idea makes sense and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I was always evaluating stuff, and what is my downside and how am I protected? Like from that perspective, I do all that stuff subconsciously. It's like, how do if I can get out of this thing without losing money or too much time, then I think, it's something that's an opportunity. For today, we don't really see so many, there's a lot of startups out there, but like, we don't even consider them startups anymore.
Right.
It's more of like another business or another idea or another company or whatever it is, from that standpoint. But I haven't been in the world looking for a job for like, a really long time.
Right.
So like to kind of loop back to where, after MySpace, so I left MySpace in 2008.
Okay.
I started, so we had a problem and I was tasked with fucking solving this issue. We had 7 billion ads a day on MySpace.
7 billion ads a day.
7 billion ads a day. Thanks to Rupert Murdoch, who single-handedly destroyed MySpace. By the way, that's the reason why MySpace is not where it's at anymore, because the people we sold it to, we sold it in like 18 months, like after we started it. And Rupert Murdoch acquired it and said they was going to capitalize it and, like let it grow. But immediately they wanted to like lean it out. They wanted to, increase the revenue and reduce the costs, right?
Yeah.
So we got a hiring freeze. So all the spam went through the roof. We couldn't handle it.
Jesus.
We got like all kinds of issues and stuff like that. With
Did you see this
malware.
coming? Did you see this coming? Who was that? I told you
so. It was like bait and switch. You know what I mean?
One of those,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, it was really like that because MTV is who we really wanted to acquire. We wanted them to acquire us, but it didn't happen. And then someone got fired. MTV, the CEO got fired because of that. The deal didn't happen. So it was a crazy situation. So then all this stuff was going on MySpace, hiring freeze. And way more ads. So there's like 10 times more ads than there were before. And those ads were dropping malware, which is like, like destroying people's computers.
Right.
So it was kind of crazy. So then I was tasked with solving this issue internally. It's like, hey, how can I monetize the ads better? Because the monetization was really bad. Advertisers were like on this like a good faith system where it's kind of like they generate revenue yesterday for the ads and they report how much revenue they generated manually, and it's kind of like, yo, what kind of rev share shit is that? It needs to be programmatic. It needs to be like, we need to be able to count it in real time.
Right.
So anyway, so I created a company and a technology company called Engage BDR. And we launched it in 2009. The first client was MySpace. Within, we're profitable from the first month, kept growing. Within 6 months, we had the top 500 ComScore publishers on the web. So all of them like dictionary.com and weather.com and all of the big sites like CNN. We had the 500 top sites.
Wow.
Within 6 months, we started growing. Never raised a dollar, never took any debt, nothing. We did hundreds of millions in revenue and then ran it for a long time. And then 2017, I did an IPO for that company. And then, and then Tom was on my board, so which was like real, it was great because Tom's like out there shooting photos and shit. At the time, he's out there just like, just living his life. Like the meme shit that people.
Why
think
didn't he ever change the default pic?
Well, because it, that it was more of like a kind of like a, you can't hate on that photo,
right.
In any way.
Where was that photo taken?
While he was in school.
Fucking crazy, man. So iconic.
Yeah, it's really great. It was a really great photo, but
does he ever think?
He still uses that photo.
Yeah, right. He still.
I have these girls hit me up. They're like, "Yo, I just matched with your boy," but he's still using the same photo. I got him to grow a beard. It took me 20 years to do that. I'm like, bro, you need to grow a beard. And he grew a beard, and he was against it, and he did it. But he loves the beard now. But it's kind of cool. But yeah, so I did that, built that next company, and then and then took it public, and it was great. And then I just got like burned out. And running a public company is like very, very stressful,
high
and
level,
painful. It's the highest level of stress. It's
what's
crazy.
something people might not know about? Like what's an unexpected task or stress that comes with that?
Well, it's like all this compliance. Like your audits have to be in at a certain time, a certain day. And the audit firms are like they're on it too, but then your staff has to be on. So you have to like micromanage every aspect of it, and it's every quarter that it happens. So that stuff's happening, but while that's happening at the same time, it's kind of like the way you present your numbers has to make sense, and then
much more.
You get smashed when you release the numbers if there's something off. You know what I mean? Meaning like, you missed your earning your target by like a certain 1% or whatever it is.
Like
you get smashed, and then they see you driving around in a Bugatti, and the paparazzi gets you, and then the next day the financial papers are writing a piece about how overpaid you are.
Right. Damn.
This is the truth.
This is a roller coaster.
This actually happened.
Right.
And then stock got smashed. You lose millions of dollars in that day from just driving around your fucking car.
Fuck, man. I know you love the Bugatti, right? Is that one of your favorites?
Yeah, it is, but it's a painful car to drive because it's something like, something happens, it's $100,000. Like anything that happens is 100 G's. It's annoying.
No, if you back into something, like if you're parking in LA,
I'm talking about just driving the car.
Just driving the car.
Yeah, just driving the car. It's like something happens, and they're so touchy. Something happens. Anyways, it's kind of crazy. I'm not talking about like an accident. I'm just talking about like while you're driving, something can happen to it.
Right. Of course,
it's a weird thing. So I tried to just leave it in the garage.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like it was a really rough time. Like driving. Running the public company. But by the way, while I had that, I did another one at the same time. Company that we had we had the only way to buy lottery tickets online in California legally, and I figured it out. And it's not like what you think. It's like we had to build a gopher system, so it's called the Lotto Gopher.
Okay.
And it was a gopher system, so we actually had these bet slip machines that we created and patented that would sit inside liquor stores that had lottery machines, and they'd print our batches, and they'd stick those into the lottery machines. Like a gopher would actually have to do that,
right?
And that bypassed the rules because you can't technically do any online gaming in California because they sold the rights to the Native Americans years ago.
Right,
they're the only ones that can do it. So you can't you can't really be. Unless they use the lottery system's bet slips and their machines, the only way you can do it. Anyways, I figured out how to do it.
Nice.
It did really well, and we took it public in Canada. And, that was a lot of stress too and whatever. And then eventually sold it, before I sold the other one. And then, so I had all this stuff going on. It was like high stress, had an opportunity to merge this, like the bigger company into another company in Australia, and I did it, and that was like 2.5-3 years ago. And I'm like,
you've been kind of like,
I just been, that shit was just ended, and I was just like,
hold on,
I really just don't want to do this kind of stuff right now because, and I didn't make the mistake of like saying, I'm gonna go do something totally different, and I'm never gonna do this again.
The door's not closed.
Door's not closed because I know that one thing is for sure, there's not a lot of people on this planet that have taken a company public, and I've done it twice. So it's a unique skill set, and I learned how to do it, I learned how to do it
How did you
through
learn
osmosis, and that's what my book's about, winning by osmosis.
Okay.
So I align myself with people that have done really interesting things, and somehow I end up doing those things.
Man, they say you want to be in a room where, people who are smarter than you.
It's not magic. It's a fucking, it's
facts.
It's common sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to learn how to, fix a car, you hang out with a mechanic, right?
Yeah,
baseline shit.
I'm just thinking to myself, why is he in the room with me right now? I have nothing on.
No, I mean, this is great. You guys, there's a lot of stuff that, like I got to learn. I don't know how to DJ. By the way, you got to teach me how to DJ.
I got you, brother. I got you.
I got the sickest setup in my house, too. Like, it's just permanently there,
Yeah, dude, let's make something happen.
I got Vice and Spider and all these guys are coming. When I'm in town, I'm going to come teach you how to teach.
For sure. I mean, these are the best of the best. Let's make that'd be fun, man.
That'd be fun, yeah. So basically, so I did that a couple of times, and I realized that, like I have all these friends over the years that would sell their companies or do something, and they get burned out, and they'd be like, I'm never doing this shit again. I'm out. I'm going to do something totally different. And they go do some other shit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, a couple years later, like, fuck, I'm coming back, man, because I hate this shit. And, and so I saw that so many times. Everybody wants to do something they're not in. Like, I had a boy, Mike Amiri. So Mike Amiri is the biggest fashion guy, the biggest men's guy out there. He's one of my best friends for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so, like, he was having this partnership before Amiri, company called Jaded by Night, which he started. He had this fallout with his partner. And he said, you know what? Fuck fashion. I don't want to do fashion anymore. I'm just going to give him this company because I don't want to deal with him or fashion or any of that shit anymore.
Yeah.
So he handed it to his partner, Bobby. And he's just like, take it. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. I'm out.
I'm done with this.
And then him and I were like, yo, like, let's do something together. Let's do something in tech. He's like, I want to do tech. I'm like, man, you're an artist, dude. You can't do tech. Let's do something else. So we did a supplement company for 5 years. It did really fucking well.
What type of company?
25 million the first year.
Supplement company?
Supplement company,
Okay.
We had diet products, but they were like, Mike's shit is crazy. They were like elegant. They looked like they were wooden iPod boxes and like crazy glass bottle. It's insane. I have them still.
Very cool.
Really, really crazy shit. Mike's the king of perceived value, right? So we did that. I did that with Mike for 5 years. And like towards the end, he's starting to itch, He's like, man, I gotta do fashion again.
Back into fashion.
So he's like, yo, I talked to Maxfield and doing a capsule collection called Michael Amiri, and I'm gonna see how it goes. 1 hour, gone. The entire collection gone. So Maxfield's like, yo, we want the exclusive. We want you to make a lot more shit.
That's crazy. That's where I got my first pair of Michael Mary jeans.
That's funny.
Absolutely, Maxfield.
Yeah. So then then he started doing that, and then we shut down the supplement business because it had its run, and I'm going public at this point,
Okay.
So I'm like, yo, I really don't have the bandwidth, to do this anymore. So anyway, so he did that. So he also did the same thing. He's like, yo, I don't want to do fashion ever again. All he needed was a sabbatical, right?
Yeah. Define that word for me, can you?
Sabbatical, basically, just take a break from. It's like a break from what you're doing.
Got it. Okay.
It really just means break, But for me, it's a little bit different. So what I did intentionally was, 2.5, 3 years ago when I sold that company, I was in tech. I was running a public company. My job at the time was I raised about $80 million for that venture, and in the IPO and the raisings after and all that stuff. My job, and I acquired a bunch of companies. There's an LA Times article about it. Acquired $100 million worth of tech companies in LA without any cash, no cash. And so I was like the king of selling perceived value, kind of like Mike does, but selling a dream, right? So these guys who were kind of, in a situation where they had revenue, but they couldn't sell their companies and, they couldn't raise capital. They needed a lifeline, you know what I mean? And they wanted to see a potential exit. And when you're publicly traded, you have shares that are on the market, they're liquid, So I sold a dream of like, yo, you're going to be public as well. You're going to have shares in this public company, and we're going to be able to capitalize your business and be able to grow it, know?
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of companies without cash. That was a really fun project. And then so my job
Buying
became
companies
like,
without cash.
So my job from marketing and sales and business development turned into corporate development.
Okay.
Corporate development basically is like M&A, which is like, mergers, acquisitions, and then raising capital. So that's all I did. I was raising capital, dealing with the public markets. I was writing all the public market announcements.
Okay.
And that was it. It was high stress. And then I was just happy to be, once that ended, I was just happy to be just done with it.
Right.
And then so I wanted to create this contrasting period. I knew what value I had. One is like I learned some really, really exciting and unique skills that not a lot of people have. One is selling the dream, to people, acquiring things without cash,
This is unbelievable.
Which is like, kind of, it's useful, and raising capital. Everybody wants to raise capital, right? And I figured out how to do it, and I do it pretty well. And then the other side is the public vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. Take a thing public. I could do it in 3 months. I've done it already twice, and I've consulted other companies on how to do it too, and I've helped others do it as well.
And what's the benefit of going public?
Well, depending on the category. So if there's like comparable companies that are valued high based on revenue or an earning multiple, whatever it is, then you might want, to be able to go public. When you go public, you don't need to raise private cash anymore. There's so many ways to just raise money instantly on market, because there's a facility you can install called an ATM. It's called at the market, and you could issue yourself shares and liquidate them on market. You could sell them on market. So you don't really need to raise any money technically from anyone. You could just liquidate your own shares.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So that raises cash. You do that every day.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the benefit of being public. And it's like the thing is, like, if you do want to raise money, the investors that are putting in money can get out instantly.
Yeah.
Like today or tomorrow, they can sell the shares on market and they're out. So that's the benefit of being public. Now, private vehicles, like private companies, the problem is they don't have an exit in sight because they're buying private shares from you, and they got to find someone to buy those private shares because they're illiquid, meaning the value to them is like based on the holder of the shares, right? And like maybe the valuation of the last round or something like that. But a lot of times it's harder to sell.
Yeah.
It's much harder to sell. You could technically just sell it on market with your broker account if it's public. So I wanted to do something that's contrasting. We had a really, really crazy 14-year run where, critical thinking, it was like a daily, like every decision was a critical decision.
Shit, bro.
And critical thinking was on high, so I didn't want to be a critical thinker for a couple years, I knew that I was going to come back to tech, and I knew I was going to come back to taking companies public and doing all that stuff. And that's how, I learned that for what,
Yeah.
Because it's like, I made a bunch of mistakes. I know what not to do, which is like puts me in a really great position now. But I needed a break, because that was just very consuming.
I'm curious to know about one of those mistakes. Like, what would you call a mistake?
Well, I mean, aligning yourself, like there's so many mistakes. So when I did the first public vehicle, we aligned ourselves with a bunch of brokers and people that really added no value to us, and they took a big percentage. And
how long does it take you to realize that?
After the first day, because they started dumping on the first day.
Wow.
They started dumping their shares. These guys are supposed to be holding for a year at least, but they started dumping on the first day.
Crazy.
So I learned quickly that these guys are all scam artists, and that's basically what they do. They're very predatory. That was the first mistake. A couple other mistakes we made were like, taking money, from maybe toxic money.
Not all money is good money.
Not all money is good money. Toxic money, the way the money is structured, there's so many ways, so many issues with the structures, and we didn't even know, that there was a difference. Like, for example, usually in a group that, there might be like 15 to 20 note, like investors on one note, and usually that's secured as one note,
Yeah.
But, the way they did it to us, was every one of those investors in that note had their own note. So it was like 20 different note holders. And so what ended up happening was they were able to have 20 different, like in a debt committee, they had 20 people in a debt committee.
Interesting.
Which is like, and then they could technically outvote, shareholders and stuff. So it was pretty crazy. You know?
Okay. So now your antennas are up all the time on stuff like
For
this.
stuff like that, I know how it works, technically. And I learned by making all the mistakes, it's crazy. So anyways, it's that world. I'm going to go back to it eventually. I just wanted to do stuff that wasn't so technical and didn't require, some like 1 out of 25 people on this planet who would have a solution for that, So like, currently I have a bunch of short-term rental, 50 plus, in LA. And, I've had this business for 10 years. It's a 7-figure a month business. It does pretty well, but trying to scale. And because of the fires, the demand for travel in LA is down like significantly. And then we have a credit repair agency for about 20 years now. And all the rappers are my clients.
Yeah.
Like all of Too Short's got video on my page, telling everybody he's been a client for like 10 years. So we've got, that's a really pretty good business, another 7-figure a month business. But, those are like not very critical thinking required, not technical, it's just kind of like, it doesn't require a very specific skill set to grow those businesses.
Are you getting the itch? Are you getting the itch to get back in?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of an itch, but, we'll see. There's some, I want to be in a space that's not saturated.
Right.
I want to be in a place where like, we don't have the walled gardens like controlling, like for example in ad tech where I was at last, we had a programmatic ad exchange, and it did really well for a long time, and then we're bound now to that world is really, my brother's still in it, and he worked for me for 15 years. He's got his own tech company now, but there's Google,
Yeah.
there's Facebook, there is Apple, and there's the Trade Desk, which is another company. They run the industry,
Wow.
and it's like, and they've consolidated out pretty much every player.
Right.
So it's very hard to coexist with them because they run the rules and
Crazy,
everything. It's
yeah.
crazy, So I want to stay out of an industry that's that has those 800-pound gorillas established
Right.
already.
Right.
So we'll figure it out. I think once I see an opportunity, it'll just be natural, and I have faith that be able to grow it. And I've had the experience. I've taken a lot of businesses from the ground, all the way up, and done a lot of turnaround stuff, and it's been pretty good. But the break has been,
I bet it's
great.
been nice.
It's been nice. Yeah.
So in terms of marketing, digital marketing specifically, in the future, do you think AI takes over, or will always be like a hands-on man-made thing where, we'll remain in the lead?
I think that, I think media buying,
Mm-hmm.
this is just my opinion based on what I've seen. Because we were writing algorithms for a long time to optimize
Mm-hmm.
performance on ad campaigns and media buys. And what that was, the machine language and machine learning and all of the algorithms we wrote were really trying to be AI, but they weren't.
Mm.
And so we feel that all of that stuff can be optimized better through AI and faster and much more efficient.
Much more efficient.
Because the problem with the human is we got shifts, and we have attention spans, and we have all this
Sick
stuff.
days, vacation time,
all kinds of stuff. And
Right.
in all those moments, you're losing money on placements and ads that aren't performing, and things like that. So I do think that all of that stuff can be optimized through technology.
Yeah.
And it would make it better. But the humans can be reappropriated to other areas. Where
What's your
cannot.
advice for us to adapt?
Yeah, I think the roles, like the sales, business development, all that stuff, can be where the humans can, still, exist.
Yeah.
I think, I don't think AI is going to be doing a lot of selling, but it's possible. And then we have AI writing our sales copy, right?
Yeah.
For emails and everything else, and all the touch points on the funnels and the drips and everything else too. So we don't have humans writing copy.
Right.
They should not, unless they're like some like superstar like Craig Clemens,
right?
Superstar copywriters. Craig Clemens is like the copywriter. Of
Interesting.
He owns Golden Hippo.
Crazy.
He's several billion a year in revenue, but yeah, he's the man. But not everyone's like Craig.
How do you feel like everyone's an influencer, social media influencers? How do you feel this has changed the game?
I think that there is some value. There's a lot of value in brands aligning with people and tastemakers, as long as the category is as long as the audience in the categories fit. And I think that they are really kind of focused on mid-tail rather than micro, rather than a bigger influencer, unless they're like a Kylie or something,
Right.
And the reason why is because I think that they're looking at engagement, they're looking at value from the relationship, and there's a lot of performance targets and metrics involved now in a lot of these campaigns. So
Right.
it's a lot smarter than it was before.
Yeah, well, I mean, at times there was stuff that was unorganic. You know, obviously LeBron selling shoes, that's on point, but Shaq on a burger commercial, maybe not so much. Have you seen or experienced, highs and lows with that type of marketing?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of times it doesn't fit or make sense, and they just spend a lot of money, and who knows?
Have you been in a room where you had to tell someone, nah, that ain't the play?
Yeah, we did that a lot, actually. We had, we had an agency called Iconic Reach, and it was for influencers. That was part of the business too. And so we had a lot of brands requesting specific influencers for stuff. And, we would always say that, like focus on mid-tail or micro at the time rather than the bigger ones. You want to distribute your reach, across a lot more than having one single point of failure, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I think it just depends, you know, and we did a lot of stuff in beauty. That was a big part of the business. Beauty was, I mean, it's
Makeup
still,
and things like that.
yeah, like makeup and all kinds of skin stuff, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff works really well with influencers still.
Yeah.
I think that is always going to work, you know. Apparel's touchy, and I think that, you know, Rich at Fashion Nova's figured it out. You know,
Yeah.
they're doing really, really well with it. And they've always had, they were a client of ours at a certain point, but they had always done really well with, you know, with influencers.
Absolutely.
Another one of my really close friends is Andy Frisella.
Mm-hmm.
Andy owns a brand called First Form
Okay.
Nutrition, and you know, his entire business is influencer. It's always been primarily influencer based, and he does, you know, a couple billion a year in
Wow.
revenue as well too. And he's you know, he's an incredible guy. He's got that, you know, the really he created 75 Hard, and
Okay.
which was a, you know, a really popular program for people fasting and working out, and you know, there's a bunch of components to it. And also his podcasts are really unbelievable too. So,
Does good podcasting.
but like really, really
I gotta
great.
check it out.
I think they changed the brand. It's called Real AF.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dope.
Yeah, real. Used to be called MF CEO.
Okay. You've been doing this for a minute now, man, and
Because I'm old.
yeah, we get there. But man, you look great, man.
Thanks,
Your
bro.
energy is amazing.
I try.
What would be a piece of advice to a young entrepreneur that you wish someone had given to you?
Well, I think, you know, a big thing is, I mean, people have given me advice, and I like to reappropriate that advice or like extend it, because I got really lucky. You know, I've always aligned myself, and that's what my book's about. Winning by Osmosis. It's really about, you know, how I align myself with people. It's like really, a lot of people want to align themselves with people, but it's kind of like how, you know,
How?
sometimes how do you get the attention of these people? Like
Right.
how do you get a mentor to adopt you? You know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know, and it's kind of like you got to figure out how to add value in their lives.
You
and
speak on this in the book?
I do,
No.
and on stages too. You
It's
know,
sick,
like
yeah.
I'll tell you about, you know, the Robbie Lee story. I'll tell you about that in a second.
Okay.
That's a really big one for me, and that changed my entire life. But yeah, so I think people are, you know, the advice that I would give people, like, one is fundamentally forget about business, but let's just talk about your friendships. And I talk about this in the book. This is what the book is about. Winning by Osmosis is primarily about being around people and absorbing things from them, you know, through osmosis. And whether it's good or bad or both or whatever, right? So you have to be really aware of that, right? So a big thing about it is, like, you know, people hear about this all the time, and it's kind of funny because everyone knows that 5 to 7 people around you make you who you are. And, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I had this story. I was at the gym today, and this guy was talking about this girl, you know, his girlfriend, and they came, you know, with them to Vegas and stuff. And then there was like another girl there, and the girl was like, ended up hooking up with like 3 guys.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and then another guy was like birds of a feather, and I'm like, yo, it's not an accident that your girl's friend is like this. That means that you're. I hate to say it.
I'm not trying to
like,
say it, but
I'm not trying to say it, but like, if she's not like that yet, she's.
Potential.
I mean, you know, like, I hate to say it, but like, you know, like, I meet girls and they're great and their friends are not escorts, you know, and shit like that, or they are, and then I'm like, okay, you know,
Yeah,
like, whatever,
dude.
you know, like, kind of like that, right? But you know, you don't really like accidentally hang out with bank robbers, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
you know,
like-
it just doesn't happen
Yeah,
like
but
that.
these are extreme cases, you know what I'm
Right,
saying? It's kind of
right.
like, you know, it's kind of extreme, right? But let's talk about trajectory and path, you know, because I think that stuff's like the really, really key stuff. Are we on the same path? Are we on the same trajectory? Are we growing at the same time? Are we outgrowing each other? Like, what's going on? Like, all this stuff about people around you. You got to be really aware that fundamentally, you be an incredible person, but I'm at the stage in my life where I don't have a lot of time, right?
That's right.
Not because I'm super old, but because at the end of the day, I've realized that my only asset that is unreplenishable is time.
That's it. That's it.
Excuse me. You cannot buy time back.
Cannot.
You cannot, right? That's the only thing you can't buy back.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? That's the most valuable asset, right?
Right.
So I don't got time for shit, you know? So everyone I'm around has to be valuable somehow.
I heard that.
Not just to me, but to other people, right? Number one, they have to be value driven, right? I don't have people around me that are trying to figure out how to make money.
Right.
I don't have those kind of people around me. I have people around me that are trying to figure out how to add value to other people's lives.
I like that.
Right? Because they realize that the only fulfillment they get is from helping other people achieve whatever they need to, or adding value to their lives or something like that. That's where the fulfillment comes from. Fulfillment doesn't come to me for doing anything for myself. And it hasn't for a long time.
Wow.
What am I going to do? I have 7 animals. I get another animal, or am I going to get another car, another house? What am I going to do that'll bring me fulfillment? None of that shit does anything for me. And I learned a long time ago that I cannot do anything for myself that brings me any fulfillment.
Damn.
It is always about someone else. And like when you do something for someone else.
How did life change when you learned that?
Well, because I was around people that are value driven. I'm like, yo, and I'll tell you this, it's Tom, right? Number one, like Tom has really, really shaped my core values over the last, like 22 years, 23 years that I've known him, that he is just like that, right? He's like purely value driven. It's like, he thinks about, like how other people, how can we improve things for other people? Like that's what the whole mantra was from MySpace. It wasn't about us. It wasn't us trying to make money. None of that happened. It caught on fire because we built something super valuable for people, right? That's kind of how it is. So people around me, like they have to be value driven. Now girls around, like any girl I'll date has to be focused on value. It has to be like, whatever they do, whatever their passion is, it is about other people. So it's not about themselves. They're not here trying to like figure out how to get rich. They're not here trying to get money from people. They're not here trying to, do whatever. They're trying to do things, their passion or their interests are to provide value to other people. Now, everyone around me is value driven, and Natasha especially.
Absolutely.
She is super value driven. She's part of my women's group. I have a women's group called High Value Women's Collective. Yeah. And they're all these women are all focused on adding value to people's lives. That's crazy. That's how it is. And so that's how my friends are. My friends are. Yeah. So I have to learn from my friends, right? They have to be better than me at stuff I want to be good at. Yeah. Because I don't have a lot of time, I'm not going to hang out with people that really are not value driven and I'm not learning anything from, because I'm loyal to them because they used to be part of my life at a certain point. So I've been hanging out with them for a long time. No, we're not going to not be friends anymore. I'm just not going to spend that much time with them because they haven't like trajectory is different, and we're not learning at the same pace, and we're not growing at the same pace, or whatever that is. But like people, I choose to give time to people that deserve it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it is. Because that's how we pay. That's how we pay people. Yeah. We pay people with our time, right?
I couldn't agree more.
Right. So it's like, hey, if I'm gonna learn something from this person because they're really fucking smart, I'm not talking about professionally. I'm talking about in so many other ways. This person is much more emotionally intelligent than I am.
Spiritual.
They're spiritual.
They eat better.
They eat better. They're fit. Their wellness routine is crazy.
It's so interesting because as we're having this conversation, and I couldn't agree more. And it's like everyone around you has to play an important role.
Yeah.
I think about the music we listen to, the music that I DJ, and the music I love, and we all love, right? But there's a frequency to it that's very like, got to get to the bag. I'm a hustler. Like, what can I? Yeah. Even girls are hustling dudes, and and it's just like, what do you feel about that type of frequency? What's your intake on that?
That's like 20 years ago for me. That's a long time ago for me, because I'm not in that mode anymore. Because like for me to be like, yo, I'm trying to make money, I'm hustling. Like it's kind of, because I've done a lot of stuff already. For me, it just kind of like. I think it devalues my brand a little bit.
No, for sure.
Like, kind of like
but
that,
I'm even speaking on the music you listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean, that's fine. I think it's great. I think ambition is great.
There's a place for it.
I feel like ambition is rare. Like, hey, if you want to be ambitious about making money, fine. As long as you're ambitious about something, be ambitious, because a lot of people are not ambitious anymore, and it's like, hey, women who are ambitious is super sexy.
I heard that.
It's just like, fuck. And you don't have time for me because you're busy working and
I love it.
I love that. It's fucking great. What do you mean? That's fantastic, But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, I got to learn something from you. You got to be value driven. You have to be like, like I don't even care what you do or make money. I don't give a shit about you making money or you being rich or any of that shit. I don't care. Like,
it's what your intentions are.
What are your intentions and what do you do? What are you doing to improve every day?
I heard that.
Like, how are you becoming a better person, or how are you better at like whatever it is you do? And
1% better every day. That's why I tell myself 1% better.
We can control. That's what we can control. Like we control how we can improve. But the other side of it is like, we can control what other people learn from us too. I think that's really key, So we learn things not for ourselves. We learn things so we can teach them to other people.
Amen.
Because we are here to serve. We're not here for ourselves.
Amen. I heard that.
But the wellness thing, it's really critical because I can't really be around people that don't. I'm going to say this, and it's disrespectful to some people. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like if you don't respect yourself. You don't respect your body. You don't respect yourself, your mind. I'm talking about spiritually. I'm talking about fitness, wellness, the way you eat, all that stuff. If you don't respect yourself, how the fuck are you going to respect me?
You heard that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
If you don't have self-worth, you have no worth for me.
Facts.
You have no value for me or anyone else around you. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of times people just have to hear that and it fucking clicks and they get it. You know what I'm saying? They understand. But, the whole wellness thing and the fitness thing is like, I wasn't around all those people. I wasn't around people that really cared about that so much. I was busy building businesses. I was focused on that. I was, like I was in tech. I was a startup guy. I was a skinny dude. You know what I mean? And I ate whatever I wanted. It was crazy. And then I somehow, made some money, whatever. And I got around some people that were just like really just fucking like, they looked great and they felt great and all this stuff. And I started to realize that, hey, you know what? These people are happy because they have self-worth and they really only need health, because health is one thing that you cannot buy back later.
Right.
You can't buy health back later. And when you're healthy and you're happy and you're just making better decisions.
That's right. That's
right.
That's
and
right.
when you make better decisions, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to like
second guess. You feel better. You're just
more confident.
No, so true.
So it's kind of like weird in a weird way, and it seems kind of vain and shallow, but it's really not. When I see a girl that's super fit and it seems wrong, I'm like, I'm attracted to her, and I'm attracted to her because she's got the discipline and she's got that is a really important thing to her. That self-worth, right? Self-worth, confidence, all that stuff is so important to this girl.
Man.
And it's like, for me, it's kind of like, she's confident, she's happy, she's got self-esteem. And when you have self-worth, you don't make fucked up decisions that compromise yourself and your integrity.
You ain't willing to gamble with that.
But when you don't, it's kind of like, if you don't respect yourself, you don't have the self-worth, you might make decisions that don't, align with your best interest.
Nah, for sure. Being involved with startups, there's a lot of highs, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. How do you deal with rejection and failure?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm programmed to it. So I did a pod. It's funny with Natasha. It was about failure.
Okay.
It was with Ryan Kavanaugh, and we went hard. We went for 2 hours. It was really great. But the whole thing was about failure. We're talking about like how do we deal with failure? And so I've been programmed to like basically fail fast, and what that means is like really learn really quickly. And so every one of these, whatever they are, these projects or whatever that didn't work out. And by the way, I had a lot that didn't work out, so many, and so many companies that were failing, for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I figured it out and fixed them,
Picked it up.
Learned and learned and learned. And I've gotten to a point where I was like, hey, I've failed so much that I have a better chance of winning now because I've done all these things and I know what not to do. And I know, it's kind of like the public company thing.
Yep.
The next time I do it, it's going to be like way different, because I failed a lot, But what does that mean? Did I fail overall? No, I took a company public. I did really well. I raised a bunch of money. I sold it, so I did fail along the way, but I think that was kind of a successful project, and it did fine.
So just keep going. Well,
there is no failure.
Yeah.
It's really, everything is just a lesson.
Lessons.
So you can't look at it as I failed because it's a numbers game. It's kind of like one of my boys, he's so funny.
Yeah.
This guy, he's like 5'6", right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's a real charismatic dude, and
Okay.
he's like, he's really smart and super successful, and he's done really well. But it's kind of like everywhere we go. I mean, this dude talks to every fucking girl. I'm telling you, like, I don't know how. He'll walk up on every fucking girl, and they're all dimes. He talks to dimes, only dimes, He goes up to every fucking girl, and it's a numbers game for him, And every girl talks to him, and he gets a number from every fucking girl, and these girls are like 5'10", and this dude's like 5'6", And it doesn't fucking matter.
He's shooting shots. He's just
what he
shooting
tells
shots.
me? What he tells me? It's like, bro, it's a number. And he's just like smiling. He's like, it's a numbers game, It's a numbers game, And
I gotta talk to this guy.
Yeah, you talk to him. He's fucking great. But it's one of my best friends. But it's kind of like, yo, that is the baseline of it, right? It's not about macking on girls and how many girls can you, get to come over and whatever. But it really is about, whatever you do, you have to consider that. It's just like numbers game. It's not luck.
Right.
It's just basically your skill set applied to a project. May not always fit, but I will tell you, after that failure, whatever you think it is, or some sort of we call it experience. After that, you're gonna have more skills,
right.
More skills. That's not a fail. That's a fucking win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a real, like, in the trenches life experience, not
Facts.
like you read about it,
right? Right.
It's not something you read about.
No,
or
it's
watched
literally
on TV.
like
it's like you were in it,
in the trenches.
You're in the trenches. So I give people a lot of credit that execute, that do anything. It's kind of like girls say these guys are like. They're like girls now. They're like fucking like feminine dudes and shit. They don't even fucking like come up and talk to girls really.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And the wrong guys do, I guess. But anyways, so it's kind of like anyone that comes and talks to them, they're just like, they're kind of starving. For that. And so it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like a lot of people don't want to do stuff, but when they do it, I feel like, I have respect for that. I don't even ask. I don't even care if you won or you lost or whatever it is.
You're shooting as long as you're playing and you're staying consistent. Staying consistent.
You're basically in the same category that we are.
I heard that.
As long as you're playing.
I heard that. I remember when MySpace music launched and how impactful that was. What would be like a wild feature MySpace if it was around now? Do you think could compete with like TikTok and Instagram? Like, what would be a crazy feature?
Like we thought about this because at a certain point I was like trying to buy it back, and I'm like, yo, Tom, like, let's go. We had a deal with Time and they got acquired by Meredith and anything. Anyways, we didn't end up getting it back, and we're just thinking about like, we're brainstorming, thinking about all the stuff that, that we can do that would be better, like an Instagram killer. We thought about it. It's super easy. So we'd be able to target posts by geography,
Okay.
Like, influencers would be able to target their posts, they'd be able to like basically do all kinds of stuff that they can't right now, with like as far as metrics, and be able to see that what demographics and what geographic regions and what are performing best on their posts, so they can have posts targeted to those regions,
Right.
Like it's kind of great.
Right.
Other stuff like, obviously you want music on the page, you know what I mean? It's kind of
that was such a game changer.
It is, and you want a top 8.
The top 8 was so lit, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't you do that kind of stuff now, But there's a lot of really cool stuff for the influencer, like tools for them that,
everyone's streaming video, Instagram Live, TikTok Live, that type of thing is popular, but it's monetizable too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that we can, that we have, that we can launch, just being in the space ourselves still, and I think that, people just don't like Facebook, They just think that
it's like older,
evil,
evil shit going, huh?
Well, Instagram too, it's part of the same company, right?
Yeah.
So they lost the trust a long time ago. There's memes every day about bring MySpace back. I get hundreds of messages every week from people with like memes like, hey, bring it back. It's kind of like, I tried to buy it back, the motherfuckers don't want to sell it. So, and it's not doing anything, It's
kind of just at a standstill, right?
Just standstill.
Do you think if MySpace had did the like a blue verified check mark at that time, it would have changed internet?
I don't think so. I don't think it would have made an impact. But I think that getting rid of the spam and, the ad problem would have made a pretty big impact, That's what happened. What happened was the spam and the ads, the malware that was coming through the ads and the congestion of so much saturation of ads, people were tired of it, and Facebook decided to open up to everyone.
Right.
They were just for college students at the time.
Yeah.
And they opened it up and they saw that window.
Yeah.
And they're like no ads, at all. And the user experience was better, even though Facebook's always been super boring,
Yeah.
But that changed everything. People were just like anti MySpace at the time, So, and we had no ability to change that because we had a hiring freeze and all this stuff going on. So,
What a time. What a time. In 08, you said 08 was pretty much the end. What was a lesson learned in 08 for you?
Well, we learned that, we sold it to the wrong people. Number one. Well, we had a pretty big depression, all of us. It's kind of like, like Kurt Cobain, like experiencing like everyone else, a big rock star, it's like
up here high.
Right. Super high. And, we're like flying, we're like, we're with Tommy Lee every day and like fucking, Nikki Sixx and all these guys and 50 Cent. These were all our boys, Wait,
like, but you got to explain what are these nights looking like? Like, tell me about.
It was wild.
Let me live through you, bro. Like,
it was like a fucking crazy era. Okay, 2003 to 2008 was like unbelievable. Are you
like flying around place to place, party to party?
Everywhere. Yeah, it was crazy.
Private.
Not just parties, but like we did a lot of work with these people.
Right.
Like they'd work with Pharrell, they'd work with fucking like everybody. All these guys, and I mean. We're around them a lot, and it was just, that was our,
what a time.
Thing. It was a crazy time. It really was. But, I think that, people were also, feeling that energy on MySpace too. They felt it too. They're just like, oh, this is crazy. And then we had parties in their towns, and we'd bring a celebrity, somebody, and they'd just be like, this is sick,
Yeah.
I think that that's a big part of it. That is the tangible aspect that Facebook never had, or Instagram never had. And I think that they wanted to simplify it. They wanted to keep it digital, super simple, you know, and from that standpoint. But, I think the brand loyalty because of the stuff we did with events and all that stuff was very different.
Absolutely.
So what
was one of the craziest celebrity stories? Like someone slid into your DM or something like that with all the whether it's from the MySpace days or, with the marketing you're doing.
Yeah. We had a lot of crazy stuff going on, but we did a lot of events, with a bunch of really big, artists, and we did a tour with with Puff, we did a tour with Diddy and, 75 cities, and it was Danity Kane. We launched Danity Kane. So I had to deal with Aubrey, and I was there in all of the all the shows,
Crazy.
So to deal with Aubrey
the
and
tapings of the Making the Band and shit?
No, our MySpace tour.
Got it.
Where they'd be performing in clubs all around the country.
Wow.
So we did that, and I had to deal with Aubrey, and she was not a lot of fun to deal with. But at the time, she, they were like, whatever. It was crazy, and I had to get Puff involved all the time. He was always like really, really cool. I didn't really know any weird. We went to a lot of his parties. We never went to a freak off or anything. I was like, man, I never got invited.
Wait, so you went right? So you went to a Diddy party?
A lot of them.
A lot of Diddy parties.
Yeah.
But you didn't experience.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
What time did you leave
to those parties? Though,
they suppose they kick off at a certain hour. Maybe you were out.
Maybe
the door.
It was different. It was like a different thing because these were like parties related to the artists and stuff.
Got it. Okay.
So we did all that stuff with them, and I did stuff with did 50 cities with Brody Jenner, and he had a jewelry brand at the time we were launching. So he's my boy forever. Back in the days, and did stuff with I did 50, 75 cities with Spider too.
Damn, shout out to my boy Spider.
Yeah, I discovered him.
You discovered Spider?
Yeah, because he'll tell you a story.
Have you done his podcast? He does a great podcast.
No, I haven't been on it yet. Spider, what's up?
What's up, Spider?
What's going on, man? So so Spider was sending me demos and shit, mailing them to me and shit. So I get all these demos, and I finally listened to one, and I was like, man, this shit is hard,
Killing
it was so dope. So then I took him on tour. And I did a couple shows with him, and I took him on tour.
Sick.
And we went all over the country, and he was the official MySpace DJ, and he was doing my pure parties, in Vegas and all the other ones. And then he and it's funny. We had to stop in Dallas one time. Him and I both thought that Vern Troyer was with us a lot. We thought Vern Troyer died.
Right. There was that rumor for a little
because he fucking was drinking. Well, he actually died, but he
but
not then.
I remember the moment though where people were like, "Is he dead?"
Yeah. Well, this was in a party, and he would drink himself into like a coma. It was crazy, you know. But he was so much fun to be around, you know. And his manager Ray Hughes, a close friend of mine, you know, at the time too. So yeah, so he was with us in Dallas on one, you know, one of the shows, and yeah, I mean, Spider's like, yo, this dude's dead, you know, like, and then his manager's like, yo, I think we think he's dead, you know, because he wasn't like breathing or moving or anything. He was just wasted, you know. Crazy. He would drink a lot, you know, so. That was crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy moments. Nikki Sixx, bro, like so many situations with him and you know his ex-wife and Tommy. I would be at his house and he'd be jumping off his roof into the pool, crazy shit, and like gave me a Jaeger tap machine and I didn't even drink Jaeger and all cases of Jaeger.
Okay, wait, yeah. So what have you? What's been like a crazy influencer package you've seen? Like. Someone get a deal for a post or some shit like that. Like anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean so my boy Dan Fleischman, you know Dan?
I've heard the name.
So Dan had a media company who still does, and he represented all these like big celebrities for a long time, and he would get like $500,000 a post from like for like Kylie and Kim, and you know I think it's probably more than that now, but yeah, it was back in the day. It was like $500,000 for like Kim, Kylie, or Kendall, or you know, like one of them, you know, it was crazy, like $500,000, one post, one post, yeah, pretty crazy. And I think it's more than that now. It's got to be more than that.
I've heard crazy numbers. Man, it's been a pleasure, bro. Thank you for
thanks for having me
through, bro. This has been a lot of fun. You know, get to people, you know, the Instagram and where they can find you and check out. Because you said you're doing clothes as well, or
nah? I just wear them. I wear clothes.
No, we all do. We all do. Sometimes depends what parties you're at.
No, everything I wear is from Japan. So
that's what's up. That's what's up. Oh, let's talk music though for a second though. Like, who are some of your favorite MCs? You know, and
I mean, I listen to everything, bro. I listen to everything except for country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, like I listen to like you know a lot of hip hop. I listen to a lot of house. You know, so. I mean, that's primarily like house and hip hop is kind of it, you know, and I'm a metalhead too. So, I mean, that's kind of, that's what I listen to.
That's what you check out.
But like, you know, like I'm friends with all my, you know, the best DJs and stuff.
For
and
sure.
So, it's, you know, I don't know. I love music, but I'm not a musician.
How has it influenced your life, would you say?
I think it's just it's a lot of inspiration and, you know, it just makes you feel, alive, and you know it just makes you feel you could have a really bad day, you hear some you know like a really good track and it just puts you back in line, you know.
Yeah
that happens a lot to me,
the
you know?
Emotional connection.
There's a lot of emotional connection to like certain music, you know. For me, when I hear it, I remember times, you know, in the past that I was in, and I'm just like it reminds me of like, you know, moments where, you know, maybe I'm in a hard place and I was in a hard place back then and I got out, you know. And so yeah, I still feel stuck a lot, you know, like a lot of times, you know, like when you have done a lot of things and weathered a lot of storms and felt a lot of pain, and entrepreneurs feel the most pain. I'm telling you, it's crazy because nothing is guaranteed. You don't eat unless you fucking like not only work, you don't eat if you work. You eat if you produce.
Yeah, see, you eat if you produce.
Yeah, you eat. It's like a real estate agent. You know?
Right.
They could be trying to sell all day and they don't sell anything. They don't get $1.
They don't get nothing.
This is kind of like that. We're like kind of like realtors, but not, you know? And yeah, so you feel a lot of pain, and psychologically it could be quite damaging too, you know? So we get in these like slumps of like depression. We're always mildly depressed entrepreneurs, you know? And then, you know, like music is very triggering for us in a positive way, you know, in a good way. So it's like, you know, we live by that. It's like it's part of our toolbox, you know.
In 08, when the MySpace moment happened, what was that next step that snapped you out of that?
Yeah, so good question. So we were all like super depressed, and you know, it's kind of like, yo, like this is the biggest thing we've ever done. And by the way, this is probably the biggest thing. How do we beat this? and you know, and then we got to a certain point, and I got to a place where I was just like, yo, I don't really want to beat this, and I don't really care if I can or not, or it's not even about that at all.
Yeah.
Because all of that is egotistical, okay? All of that has to do with, you know, arrogance and ego and all that stuff. And I'm super spiritual. I wear fucking beads, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I really, all I know is everything I really need is in here, you know? Like, I really don't care about exogenous stuff, you know? I don't really care about any of that shit. I am a car guy, whatever, but like, I don't really need any of that. And the older I get, the closer I get, and start to realize that everything really is in here. And I'll explain to you what that means. That means that, hey, by the way, like when you realize that gratitude is real and you really have to practice it, and it takes a lot of work to get really good at it. And you have a daily, you have these things you say to yourself. I have a boot schedule, every morning I say these things to myself, and it really enforces my gratitude. And really, when people say they practice gratitude, like what do you actually do to practice it?
Right.
Anyway, so practicing gratitude is really critical. And you realize that all you really need is everything that you already have in here, and your health.
Yeah,
and
your health is so
that's
important.
it, really, because that is what frames your mindset. And the difference between me and Elon Musk and all these other guys, and we're not talking about money, we're talking about achievement, things that have done things. I don't care what people say about Elon Musk. I mean, he's a bit fucking radical right now, but he has done so much to add value to people's lives. Yeah, he's made money, but who cares? But he's done things to add value to people's lives, right? I still use PayPal,
Right.
Anyways, so from that standpoint, mindset tuning, mindset framing is so critical. So I've been doing a lot of things with this, and Tom and I have. I practice TM, transcendental meditation. I learned that about a dozen years ago.
Okay.
And I practice TM. And
how do you do that?
Well, you trained by a TM coach, and you get a Sanskrit mantra that you chant in your head, and you meditate. I haven't been too religious in my meditation over the past 6 months. I've been slipping, and I need to get back really focused into it. But I have been doing a lot of self travel, and so people are like, "Oh, you travel? Where are you traveling to?" I'm like, "I'm just traveling here, primarily because I think that subconscious diving and really understanding what's in your subconscious is so much more valuable than physical travel, because then you get to really understand who you are." And the way we do it, the modality is ketamine therapies, and we do it through in a doctor's office. And there's a clinic called Golden Afternoon in Santa Monica. I feel like it's the best one. And then there's one that you can do at home. My friend owns a company called Better You Health, and they do telemedicine, and they give you the lozenges, and you can do them at home. It's really great if you don't have time to go to a clinic. The clinic is intravenous, and you sit there and you're in a chair and you're out for like an hour, and you're in this subconscious state. You're not asleep, and you're diving your subconscious, and you set your intention for about 15 minutes before. And so you're fully uninterrupted and disassociated, focused on that intention. So I've changed and evolved and realized and all this stuff over the past 2 years from understanding who I am. All these journeys,
Right.
they're journeys,
They are journeys.
these journeys in my own subconscious, to figure out, hey, this is why I'm triggered by this. This girl said this to me today and like fucked me up. And I need to work on all these things. And why am I so judgmental? And why am I, like there's so much that I've understand about myself now that I never did before. It's from the subconscious dives,
Damn, that's so dope.
Yeah,
man.
it's dope, man.
Proud of you, my
you
brother.
remember all of them. You remember the whole thing, and it's really next level. It's unbelievable. You could sit there and do, and I'm not saying that therapy and talk therapy and any of that stuff is. I'm not undermining that. I think that's great. If you're doing that, fantastic. You're doing something. I think this is accelerating because you could do months worth of work like that in an hour because it's fully uninterrupted. And, the way we process thought is like every second we're interrupted, in real life. It's kind of like driving around in New York City.
Yeah.
But in this, you're fully disassociated, focused for an hour on this, on this intention. And the kind of work you get done there is like, like a few months worth of work in real time. So it's been pretty effective. And
It's awesome, man.
And I think it's, I have so many stories about that, but yeah,
That's
pretty
what's
good.
up, man. I look forward. We got to do a part 2 very
sure.
soon, man.
Yeah.
Ted, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for your energy, man. I
Yeah,
really
for sure.
appreciate all the insight you've given the audience today, man. You mentioned the book. Tell the people about the book.
So it'll be out by fall. It's called Winning by Osmosis,
Okay.
and it's really my journey. I started off with nothing, and I have great parents, but I left home at 16 because I didn't get along with them. And I've aligned myself with people that are, that have done things that I wanted to do, and I've always figured it out. It's really about the alignment with people, and there's a lot of stuff about health, wellness, spirituality, and sleep in there too that make it really critical and help that really frame your self-worth. And once your self-worth is there, then you become kind of unstoppable.
That's
so,
what's up, man.
yeah.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
I look forward to reading the book, man. Much more success and healthier way, my brother.
Thanks, bro.
Just Incredibles podcast. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you like content like this, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe, drop a comment. My man Ted might be in the comment section giving y'all some advice and some words of wisdom, man. Thank you so much for watching. Just Incredibles podcast from LA. Peace, y'all.
Just
incredible!
Hey, yo, just incredible.
You don't know, eh?
Keep winning.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you to everyone who watched this podcast. The music you're hearing, that's provided by LA's own The Eastie Boys. If you enjoyed watching this, please hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section, and while you're there, tap that subscribe button so you can subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. There's more content just like this, and trust me, a lot more on the way. To keep up with me off of YouTube, follow me on Instagram at Justin_credible or my TikTok. You could just search Watch Just Incredible. Thank you so much for watching.